Hey everybody, welcome back to Appa's Kitchen at home. I'm not on the road right now. It's nice to be in my own kitchen. So today's an exciting day because I have some friends coming over for dinner. They're going to be making the pasta. Actually, I'm going to make the dough. They're going to make the noodles. So we'll get to that later. Um, what we're making today is macaroni alla mugnaya. Check the spelling when I post the video and get that pronunciation right. Mugnaya, the GN in Italian is la N, sound like in canyon. All right. Some people don't like it when I correct their Italian, but sorry. I mean, it's a language. Um, so where was I? So we're going to make macaroni alla mugnaya. First, I'm going to make the gravy. So I have everything on the counter. I'll show you what I got from Berkeley Bowl this morning. I spent $100 just on stuff for gravy. It's an expense. If you really want to make good gravy, you get some good ingredients. Then I'm going to make the meatballs. Meatballs will go in towards the end. What I'm planning is to have the meatballs ready for when my guests arrive so that they can have a meatball before I put them to work because I don't want them starving while they're working. And then we're going to make the pasta. I'll make the dough and they'll make the noodles. So 3 videos are coming today. Stay tuned. Check them all out. I hope you enjoy it. So first is, how do you make gravy? Let's go to the counter and I'll show you what I got. It's gravy. So South Jersey, Philadelphia, I think I can be safe saying that we call it gravy. Other parts of the country, I don't know where, they call it sauce. People love to argue about it. Call it whatever you want to call it. I call it gravy. I don't want you to argue with me. All right, so this is what we got. Let's see what we have here. I have some ground pork and some ground beef. These are for the meatballs, so I'm going to set those aside. But they will go in the gravy and also flavor it. I got some Sicilian sausage from Berkeley Bowl. They look nice. So 4 pretty big Sicilian sausage links. I'm probably going to cut them into thirds. My mom never really cut the sausage. I like to do it because I like people to be able to get a little sausage, a little meatball, whatever else. And then I have this also hot Sicilian sausage in the freezer. I don't remember where I got it. So I'm not sure if it's any good. That's why I bought some extra, just in case. All right, so we got some sausage. And then I asked at Berkeley Bowl if they had any bones. And this is what I got. So some nice, I don't know what he said they are, knuckle bones, rib bones. Anyway, so about a pound and a half of bonage. They were like 99 cents a pound. I didn't think it was enough, so like a true Italian, I bought more. So I got these beef back ribs, $3.99 a pound. So they have a little bit of meat on them. The meat will eventually come off the bone and kind of like get into the gravy. So that'll be nice. All right, I have an onion, a can of tomato paste. My mom always used tomato paste when she made gravy. And we were talking about it when I was in New Jersey. I think because she canned her own tomatoes, and we think that her canned tomatoes were a little on the thin side compared to these Cento crushed tomatoes, which are very thick. So I'm not sure all of what I'm going to put in the gravy at this point yet, but I'm going to do 2 cans of crushed tomatoes. I have some passata just in case. Oh, so here are the 2 cans of crushed tomatoes. And then I also took out a can of peeled tomatoes. I'm thinking for this pasta, I want the sauce to be thick and a little bit chunky. So the whole tomatoes are going to add some chunkiness to it. All right, so I'm going to start by frying the meat and then saute the onion, fry the tomato paste, and then add the tomatoes and let it simmer all day. So let's go to the stove. I'll show you how all this works. Okay, I have this great pot that I got. It's made in Italy. Hey, Made in, I'm available if you want to give me a sponsorship and endorsement. But this is really great for making gravy because it is wide, not too deep, but it's like a, how many quarts is this? 10-quart pot. So it's the same size as my tall pot, except it has a much bigger surface area. So it's great for frying the meat first and then making the gravy. I'm going to use just regular old vegetable oil. You could use olive oil, but you know, olive oil does tend to burn. So just to be safe, I'm using vegetable oil. So I heated up the pot first, slightly. Put the oil in. It's on high right now, but I'm going to lower it once I get my meat in. I'm going to start with the sausage. So first I have this hot Sicilian sausage. And then, whoops, the sausage from Berkeley Bowl. We're just going to brown it. Doesn't have to be cooked all the way through because it's going to cook in the gravy. But you know, I like to get as much browning as I can because remember, brown means flavor. All right, so we'll check back in a minute when this is all browned. Okay, so the mystery Sicilian sausage from wherever, I don't remember where I got it from. It looks like it's done. Now let's take these out. They're nicely browned. They held together nicely. The Sicilian sausage that I got at Berkeley Bowl, however, they're sticking. I don't know if there's cheese maybe inside of them. They're kind of breaking open. So these are being problematic. I'm going to take these out too. If I have a feeling there might be some pecorino cheese, that's what's leaking out. And this might kind of burn on the bottom of my pan. If it does, I'm going to be pretty upset. Okay, so my meat now, I salted and peppered all of my bones. So we're just going to brown these. I'm a little bit worried because whatever leaked out of that sausage is now kind of smoking in the bottom of my pan. So I might have to do some damage control here. All right, let's see how this goes. It's been one of those weeks. My dishwasher stopped working suddenly, even though I never use it. And then my credit card that I used to buy the new dishwasher didn't work because they thought, like, why are you buying a dishwasher? Your dishwasher's not that old. I don't know what they thought. But then I had to deal with that. So, of course, we would have something like burnt cheese on the bottom of my beautiful gravy here. Ugh. All right, I don't like the way this is looking. I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna get rid of whatever this burnt stuff is and fry my meat properly. So hang on. Okay, my friends, that is what we call a little bit of crisis management. I have had an issue. This is one of the reasons why I don't like frying my meatballs. I prefer to just put them in the oven because the meatballs have pecorino cheese and breadcrumbs, and sometimes that will get on the bottom of the pan and burn. So I reserve the oil. I lost all that beautiful browning. Remember, we call that the fond. But no problem, because I have a lot of meat here. So we're going to get all that back with our meat. So basically, these are just bones for the most part. A couple of them are ribs that have some meat on them. There's going to be a lot of fat in these, so at a certain point, you're going to want to skim the fat. But tons of flavor. So I'm just going to brown these. And then we'll saute our onions and get the tomatoes going. All right. Okay, we'll check back in a little bit. I'm going to cover it, let those cook and brown. All right, let's see how our bones are doing. Beautiful. So for this part of the process, you really want to just take your time, get as much browning as you can. Remember, this is your flavor. You're not really going to eat this. Some people might want to chew on a bone. You might get some of the rib meat in the gravy, but for the most part, this is just giving us the flavor. So take your time. So what I did while these were browning, I washed the dishes, I chopped an onion and a carrot, and I opened all of my tomatoes. So I'm ready for the next part. This one I just want to get a little bit more browning on the side, but otherwise these are looking pretty good. But I don't want to rush it. So I'm going to give these just a few more minutes and then I'll take them out. All right, I'm getting impatient. Sorry, because it's already 10:40. So this looks great. I got a lot of browning on the bones, on the meat, and also on the bottom of the pan. So I'm going to take these out for a little bit. And move on to the next step. I'm actually glad I got these ribs because looking at these bones, yeah, they're going to give some flavor, but I want a little bit of meat. So in the past, I was able to find neck bones at Lucky, which is a supermarket here. But I haven't been able to find them recently, so I don't know what's going on with the neck bone. Somebody's using them for something. My sister was telling me, I think it was my sister, was telling me that back in the day in Paulsboro, where we grew up, you could go to the butcher and get the bones for free. And of course, now they charge you for them because everybody wants bones for their bone broth or whatever for their dogs. Okay, it's looking good. Look at all that fond. So crisis averted. I don't have any cheese stuck on the bottom of my pan. This one little bone, this is just fat. So I'm going to keep that in there. Okay, next I have diced onion. Just one onion. And I decided to put some carrots for flavor. My mom never used carrots and celery in her gravy. The first time that I saw it done was in Argentina. You know, in Argentina and Buenos Aires, there are a lot of Italians. The second largest ethnic group after people of Spanish descent. And I just thought it was some crazy Argentine thing. They put carrots and celery in their gravy. But then the more I watched Italian cooking videos, even from Abruzzo, they put carrots and celery. One video that I saw, they said that the carrots, you want to, if you're worried about acidity in your tomatoes, that you can put a carrot. You can just put a few pieces of carrot in with the tomatoes and then removed it. I've seen people make bolognese with carrots and celery. So anyway, you know, it's just more flavor. The carrots will kind of give a little bit of a sweetness to the gravy. And like I said before, I want this to be on the thick side. So whatever carrots are left after it's been boiling or simmering for 100 hours, just going to add some texture. All right, so I got all of my fond, like browning, on the bottom of the pan. Just going to let these cook for a little bit. Again, patience here, because this is where you're building up the flavor. So you want to be careful not to burn the onions. But I do want them to get nice and caramelized just for the flavor. Check back in about 5 minutes. All right, looking good. So it's been about 10 minutes now. Let me take this bone out. So my onions and my carrot have softened up nicely. I've gotten most of the fond browning from the bottom of the pan. So a ton of flavor here. All right, now let's start building up the gravy. So first thing, a can of tomato paste. This is just plain tomato paste. Be careful when you're buying tomato paste because you'll get Italian seasoning or garlic or whatever. You don't need all that extra flavor, whatever that is. Because you're making your own flavor here. All right, so as much as you can get out, and then we're going to add a can of water and start to fry this. This is on a pretty low heat, so it's the same heat that I used to saute the onions and the carrots. You don't really need a high heat here. So this is kind of creating the base, I guess, of the gravy. We get some pretty intense tomato flavor from the tomato paste and also nice thickness. And this is called frying the tomato paste. So I remember the instructions I got from my mom. Fry your tomato paste. I didn't really know what that meant. So it's not a sizzle fry. It's just kind of bringing this all together. The smell right now is just incredible. And I can see now, after adding the tomato paste, any of those little brown bits that I had on the bottom of my pan, that's all gone now. Sometimes when I make macaroni alla monyaia, I'll make just a short rib ragu. Pretty much the same process, using short ribs, and then I'll deglaze the bottom of the pan with some red wine. But this time I'm not putting any wine. This is closer to the traditional Sunday gravy that I had growing up. All right, so ready to go in with our tomatoes now. So I'm putting a can of whole tomatoes. Not even going to bother crushing them because they will fall apart after cooking for several hours. And 2 cans of crushed tomatoes. So you can see that is really thick right now. So I'm going to add a can, possibly 2, of water. So we're just going to get all of the tomato out of these cans because we don't want to waste anything. All right, that looks good. All right, there we have it. Now I have 2 jars of passata on standby, just in case I need to add more tomato, but I think this is probably going to be enough. I have 5 people coming over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including myself. So it's not a huge meal. When I make gravy, I make a big pot and then I freeze it. Because if you're going to go through all of this trouble, might as well make it for several meals. All right, so I'm going to put my bones back in. Turn up the heat. Add a little bit more water. And let this simmer for a few hours. It's 11 o'clock now. Dinner is going to be around 4:30. I will add the sausage once this really starts to look like gravy. And then the meatballs will go in about an hour before dinner. Stay tuned. Okay, we're getting close to 2 o'clock now. The sauce has been simmering since 11. What time is that? 12, 1, 2. So 3 hours. I took a shower. I took a nap. I vacuumed. Played a little game on my phone. All right, so it's looking good. I did check it after about an hour. It was really thick. So I added 1 bottle of tomato passata. You can see that the meat is starting to fall off the bone. Still going to cook for another 2 hours. So a lot of this meat is just really going to fall off and just kind of be floating in the gravy. Okay, so what I did is I cut the sausage. The longer sausage that I got from Berkeley Bowl that has some kind of cheese in it, I cut into short pieces, into thirds. And then the spicy Sicilian sausage I cut at an angle. You can see that this one is not fully cooked. So it's going to continue cooking in the sauce. Sorry, in the gravy. I've been so beaten down over the years by people telling me it's not gravy, it's sauce. Sometimes I slip. These silly arguments that people have over things. All right. Okay, so we're going to continue cooking this. It's really starting to come together nicely. All this meat is going to flavor it. Oh, marron. So thick. I still have to put some meatballs in here, so we're kind of running out of room. But I love this pot because it's low and wide. You know, with a deeper pot, you kind of have to dig in there. And then, you know, when you have meatballs, you know, maybe you're going to break the meatballs apart. You can't really see what's going on. So here I can see everything that's happening. So thank you, Made-In, for this wonderful pot. Tastes great. Let me just give it a little taste. It's so smooth. And I got a little piece of meat in that taste, which is exactly what I want. All right, so I'm going to cover this up, get started on my meatballs, and then my guests will be here in about an hour. So I'm gonna have the meatballs ready for them when they get here. We'll have a little meatball before I put them to work. And then I'll put the meatballs in the gravy and just let it simmer. I like to turn it off a little bit before I eat, just to let it rest and see if I can skim some of the fat off of it. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. Check back in another hour.